I've actually had quite a few memorable experiences on this mountain. 3 years ago on Father's Day, the kitchen I was cooking in blew up, and I was absolutely engulfed in fire, and when I walked away, I didn't have one hair singed on my body. It was probably one of those wake up moments when you think, oh my gosh, you know, this could have gone 100 different ways. So that's pretty memorable. The Burrow fire, very memorable for me because that was my first evacuation, and the understanding the dynamics of why we left our mountain was very difficult for me.
Fires are burning in our state, and it continues just to cause a lot of problems. If you know anybody who lives in or had plans to head to Summerhaven, just outside Tucson, that mountaintop community is being evacuated beginning at 6 o'clock this morning because of the Burrow fire. Back in 2003, you might remember Summerhaven had to deal with a major fire. The Aspen fire burned right through that community, burning homes and stores. They've since rebuilt, of course, but that scar remains in the psyche as well, the Burrow fire.
The fire happened on the 17th. The 18th, it was the first day. It was 4 acres, so it was real small. The next day, it was like 40 acres. The next day was the day that it came over the ridgeline, and it was 5,000 acres. So we were part of the third day of the fire, and there was no saving it. Out of 425 water services, I lost 310. So I lost 3/4 of my water system. So I lost that many houses. It was very, very devastating. You got a question?
Did you evacuate during the Burrow fire?
No, I stayed here because I'm water. So my guys were able to go, 2 of them live here, so there's 3 of us that live on the mountain, and then 1 that lives in Tucson. We didn't have the guy in Tucson come up until later, but all 3 of us were able to stay on the mountain and keep the things going. So we kept the fire trucks ready for water. We had at the time 1.5 million gallons to be able to supply to fight the Burrow fire.
A couple years ago, we lost a lot of firefighters here in Arizona. It was the most tragic wildfire in the history of the United States. So that's very fresh in all of our memory. We've worked with a lot of the firefighters that were on that fire, so it puts it in perspective that yes, it's still a dangerous job.
The school was evacuated on the 17th when the fire started, and we had, I think there were 12 or 14 students, and then we also had the bus going up and down. We had kindergarten to 6th grade, and it was called a one-room schoolhouse. And there was 1 teacher and an aide that taught the whole class. So when the fire happened, it destroyed the businesses where the people worked and lived to make Summerhaven viable financially. So that to get money, people would work in the restaurants. There were cooks, waiters, dishwashers, people that would help doing all those things, and they would be paid money, and they lived in Summerhaven. When the fire went through, it took all that out. So the people, when they were evacuated, they moved them to a hotel downtown, and when they came back, there was nothing. The school made it. I don't know if you went by the school. It's now my office. So the water company has been able to use the school. But what was really eerie was after the fire, and they used 1 room for emergency services where FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management, the people that help and give you money and get you back online so you can recover, they'd use that one room. But the other room where the students were was like a ghost town. So it was all the pencils were right where the kids left them, and they had partial sentences written on their paper book, and you'd go in and there were, hats and things that they didn't take with them, and different play stuff, and you'd walk into that room and it'd give you chills because you go, ooh, this is really weird, because they evacuated so fast you didn't have a chance to clean out anything. So
We had to be out by 6:30 the next morning, or 6, and when you're trying to decide what means something to you and that you may never come back to anything else, it's very clear and dry, really. You take your pets first. Boom, they're in the car. But then as you start finding more room, I found that the things that I wanted or I thought I wanted, in retrospect, didn't mean anything to me except that my home was safe and my animals were safe.
What's it like to live in such a small town, like to where everything's kind of close by?
It's a challenge because you don't have a Circle K, you don't have a Safeway, you don't have the modern convenience. It's a gas station, you don't have any of those things. So you have to do a lot more planning. So you have to know what you're going to eat for the next week. Most of the time, people that live here go down once a week, sometimes more than that. There are also people that live here that go down every day. So there's different ways. Living here, those people that go down every day, like the lady at the post office, Pamela Harmon, if you say, Pamela, I really need some cheese, then when she goes home from the post office, she'll pick up the cheese, put it in her refrigerator, and the next morning, if she remembers, she'll bring it back up to you. So sometimes you have little tricks to do to make survival in a small community better. One of the things I say about a small community, it's like all little communities either have a newsletter or a little magazine or something that they do once a month or every year. If you take those people's names and you scratch them out and you put the names of our community people on them, the story's the same. We have all the same problems. It's water, electricity, sewage, groceries, paving, all these things that a small community has to deal with. You have to deal with them in a big community, but there's other people to help you do it. So having a small community, you wear a lot of different hats. So you put on different hats that you might be, like I'm a volunteer firefighter. So if the alarm goes off, I respond and I go to the fire station. So that's what we have to do in a small community.
Well, when I came up here and I was 18 years old, it was nothing like it is now. It was a dirt road. Where the sawmill is now, there was a little pie shop that had the most exquisite pies. I actually became the pie lady after Pam, the original pie lady, passed away, and I took on her role and did it for 10 years, very humbly and with as much grace as I could. Tried to fill the shoes of that iconic lady that did that, and that's my main memory is navigating directly to that pie shop.
We arrived here in 1974, and it was a long time ago, and it was a big change for me because I came from Florida, where there was water and beaches, and it was getting used to, I think, because there was a lot of isolation. We were so far from Tucson, and but I enjoyed it, and I brought with me, with us, we had 3 children, and so we had a one-room schoolhouse up here, K through 6. So the kids went to school there, and that's a lot of stories there regarding the school and the activities. So he came to Arizona in 1912 when Arizona became a state, and he is from Kansas, and he was about 20 years old, and he was a school teacher back in Kansas, and he saw an ad to come out to Arizona and be a teacher for a lot more money than where he was. So he came out and he landed in Clifton, Arizona, which was a big mining town. Now, 1912, can you imagine? And he was a teacher on a ranch. So all the kids, big ranches, so all the kids rode their horses to the school. So he taught one-room schoolhouse. He did that for years, and eventually he came up to Mount Lemmon about 1935, and he was a teacher in Tucson, and fell in love with Mount Lemmon. And pretty soon he had a little sawmill going, and then he did some building, and then he had a restaurant, and he helped bring electricity here. So yeah, I would say Tony Zimmerman was a big influence on me. It was pretty inspiring because he was a great storyteller, and I got to have a feeling of what it must have been like back in 1912 and 1920s out in the West. And he walked everywhere. When you think about someone getting up in the morning to go teach school and they have to walk 10 miles to the building, Or the fact he had his own ranch, a little cattle ranch, and then he had horses and so forth. But a Western life, which was a big difference.
Now let me tell you about how this area of Mount Lemon developed. The land is owned by the forest, okay, National Forest. Right after World War II, when your grandfathers and grandmothers were coming back from service, there was an ad in the Daily Star saying, if you're interested in a cabin, sign up, and there will be a lottery. And if your name was drawn, you were assigned a piece of land. Now you had to build a cabin on it within a certain prescribed period. I don't know what that was. We came along about 10 years later and bought a cabin that was already built. The only thing that we've added to my cabin, is a bathroom and a larger deck, because I have a big deck and I bring lots of people up, lots of friends up to see my birds and to see the hummingbirds and to just enjoy a day and a night where you need a blanket. Did you need a blanket last night for sleeping? Can you imagine? And let me tell you, the first year I went, I never had warm enough clothes because I was always surprised. It is, 20 degrees difference between Tucson and your temperature there, and especially at the top.
Okay, Michael told us about how the Aspen fire affected the Summerhaven community. Also, we learned from Michael about the water system in Summerhaven. And finally, he told us a ghost story about how they thought there was a haunted house up on Mount Lemon.
Lori told us that she used to be the one who made the pies in Ski Valley. She also said that the first time she went to Summerhaven, she was 18, and she went there when all the roads were still dirt.
Jo told us about how her life was on Mount Lemon. She told us about how her whole cabin was about the size of this room. She also explained that she was kind of grumpy when she was going up the hill, but then when she was coming down the hill, she felt really in peace with the nature because Mount Lemon helped her find her, help her not be so grumpy.
So also, Jo told us that she also feeds the deer, when she's not there, when she's sleeping, the deer actually waits out there, but when she's kind of a maverick, because she's not supposed to do it in Summerhaven.
So one thing that I learned from Fran Zimmerman was that kids back in the day used to use horses to travel to school or anywhere else.
One thing that I learned is Mom and Lion would stash their food, it being deer or anything else, under places like people's decks, other places, and we actually found this skeleton of something that could be that.
The thing that I like about Mount Lemon is that it helps you relax and you can go searching for bones.
Something that I like about Mount Lemon is how it's really nice up there instead of down here in Tucson where it's really hot.